Welcome back to Horoscope TV. It is so fantastic to have you with us again as we continue our exploration of the stars.
It's great to be here.
Today we are doing something a little bit different. We're really zooming in way in on a very specific slice of the zodiac wheel.
hmm
We're turning our full attention to the lions, the royalty of the zodiac. We're conducting a really specialized analysis just for the sign of Leo.
It is always, always a spirited time when we get to discuss Leo. They just bring such a specific, such a radiant energy to the table.
They really do.
But looking at the charts for this particular week, spirited might be a bit of an understatement.
I was just reviewing the data before we started.
Yeah.
And we're looking at the week of February 16th to February 22nd, 2026. And I have to be honest, I sort of sat back in my chair for a second.
Oh, I bet.
Usually a weekly forecast has a certain rhythm to it, maybe a manic Monday, a slow Wednesday, a fun Friday. This chart, it looks like a seismograph during an earthquake. It feels like the volume is just cranked all the way up.
That is a very, very apt observation. If you are a Leo or, if you have significant Leo placements, your rising, your moon, this is not just another week. It's not a week where you check to see if you should buy a lottery ticket or get a haircut.
Right.
We are looking at a pivotal moment in the astrological year. We are staring down the barrel of a major cosmic event. We're calling it the Solar Eclipse Awakening.
The Solar Eclipse Awakening. That sounds like a movie title.
It really does.
And knowing Leo, they would absolutely star in it. But, jokes aside, that sounds heavy. What makes this specific eclipse in 2026 so significant for them?
Well, eclipses are always wild cards. They just are. They're the universe's way of sort of speeding up destiny.
Forcing the issue.
Exactly, forcing the issue. But for Leo, this is personal. The sun is their ruling planet. Leos are solar creatures. They draw their vitality, their identity, their very sense of self from the sun.
So it's core to who they are.
It is their core. So when the sun is eclipsed, when that light is momentarily, obscured by the moon, it's a direct hit to the ego and the identity. It's like a reboot of the entire operating system.
Wow. Okay, so before we get into the daily breakdown, help us frame the mission here. If I'm a Leo listening to this right now, what's the headline? Why do I need to care about this specific time frame?
The headline is Relational Revolution. If I had to boil this entire, very complex chart down to a single core theme, it is about relationships and a shared vision for the future. We're seeing a massive structural shift in how Leos relate to the people around them.
Wait, hold on a second. That's interesting because Leo's usually the solo act, right?
Yeah.
The spotlight shines on them. They're the performer, the leader. Why is the theme suddenly about us and we?
That's the friction. That is exactly why this week is so difficult, but also ultimately so rewarding. The major planetary players are forcing a change in perspective. First, you have the sun, Leo's ruler, but it's currently moving through Aquarius. And then on Tuesday, we have this massive, transformative solar eclipse happening in Aquarius.
And for those who don't have the zodiac wheel memorized, Aquarius is directly opposite Leo, correct?
It sits directly across the table, yes. It is the 180-degree opposition. Leo represents the self, the ego, the heart, and individual creativity.
The I am.
The I am. And Aquarius represents the collective, the group, the intellect, and humanity. So an eclipse in your opposite sign is like a spotlight swinging away from you and suddenly illuminating the entire audience. It forces you to look at who's standing there with you.
It sounds humbling.
It can be. It really can be. It's what we call the me versus we axis. The universe is asking, who are you when you aren't the only one in the room?
A tough question for any of us, but
Right.
especially a Leo.
Absolutely. And just to add another layer of complexity here, later in the week, the sun shifts into Pisces, which then drags all of that energy into these deep emotional waters.
So we go from the intellectual, kind of detached air of Aquarius to the super emotional water of Pisces. That sounds like a lot of whiplash for 1 week.
It is. It's a lot of moving parts. But here is the hook, and I want to be very, very clear about this because I don't want to scare our Leo listeners.
Please, yes.
Intensity is not bad. Intensity is productive. While we have this shock to the system, there is a beautiful, almost cinematic payoff at the end of the Winnick involving Venus and Jupiter.
I saw that in the notes. I did.
Yeah.
It looked like the sky suddenly clearing up after a massive storm.
It is remarkably positive. We are going to unpack some sudden surprises in career that might rattle the cage on Monday, for sure, and some really fated new beginnings in love on Tuesday.
Faded. I like that word.
But But the goal here is to help our Leo friends navigate from the shock of the new into that lucky, expansive energy that is just waiting for them on Sunday.
Okay, I am strapped in. Let's start with section 1, the cosmic landscape. Give us the bird's eye view. If a Leo is looking at their week like a weather map, what are the fronts moving in?
Okay, if this were a weather forecast, Monday starts with a lightning strike, a real bolt from the blue.
Wow.
Then Tuesday brings a total shift in atmospheric pressure, that eerie silence and darkness of the eclipse.
I can feel that.
Wednesday brings a flood, emotional waters are rising, and they're rising fast. And then Sunday is a double rainbow.
I love that imagery.
Hmm.
But let's break down the mechanics a little. You mentioned the lightning strike.
Yeah.
That involves the sun, right? Leo's ruler.
Yes. We can't analyze Leo without tracking the sun. On Monday, February 16th, the sun makes a square aspect to Uranus.
Okay, let's pause on square. I know in astrology that's a hard angle. It's friction. But why? What is actually happening there?
Think of a square as a traffic intersection where two cars are coming at each other at 90 degrees and neither one has a stop sign.
Oof.
It creates friction. It demands action. You have to swerve or brake or something. In this case, the sun represents the Leo's core purpose, their ego, and Uranus represents the Great Awakener rebellion, sudden change, electricity, disruption.
So the ego is crashing head-on into rebellion.
Precisely. And because Uranus is involved, you cannot plan for it. That's the nature of Uranus. It rules accidents, surprises, breakthroughs, the things that come out of left field. The implication is a sudden, almost violent urge to change how Leos are perceived publicly.
So what does that feel like for the Leo?
A Leo might wake up Monday morning, look in the mirror, and just say, I hate this. I hate this job. I hate this title. I hate this routine. And they just want to flip the table.
That sounds dangerous if you have a mortgage to pay.
It is incredibly destabilizing. It sets a tone of complete unpredictability right out of the gate. But it also prevents stagnation. If you've been bored, well, Monday solves that problem for you instantly.
So it's a jolt to the system.
A huge jolt.
And that energy leads us directly into the pivot point on Tuesday, February 17th, the solar eclipse in Aquarius.
Yeah.
You mentioned this highlights the me versus we axis. Psychologically, what is that actually doing to a Leo?
Well, think about the archetype of Leo. It's the monarch, the king or the queen. They rule by, divine right. They lead with the heart. Now, look at Aquarius. It's the revolutionary, the committee, the internet. It's a decentralized network where everyone is equal. When you have a solar eclipse, which is a supercharged new moon, a moment of dark inception, in that Aquarius sector, it is a reality check for the king.
The king is forced to listen to the people.
Well, king is forced to realize he is part of the people. It is a major turning point in partnerships. And this isn't just about romance, though it very often is.
Okay.
It's about business partners, best friends, even open enemies. The universe is saying, you cannot do this alone anymore. Your ego is not enough to carry this load. You need to integrate the other.
Interesting.
We often see new relationships starting under this energy that are radically different from what the Leo usually goes for.
Different how? What do you mean by that?
Less subservient, more challenging. An Aquarius eclipse brings equals, or even people who might intimidate you intellectually. It's not about finding a fan. It's about finding a co-pilot.
Interesting. So Monday is the personal rebellion. Tuesday is the relational ego check.
Right.
What happens on Wednesday?
Wednesday, February 18th, brings that energetic shift we touched on earlier. The sun leaves Aquarius and enters Pisces.
Moving from air to water. That feels like going from a debate club to a therapy session.
That is a brilliant analogy. That is exactly what it feels like. Aquarius is mental, detached, social, and intellectual. Pisces is boundless, psychic, emotional, and porous.
Yeah.
So when the sun moves into Pisces, the focus for Leo shifts from that public image and that group dynamic into deeper, more private waters. It hits their 8th house sector.
The 8th house. Okay, that's the spooky one, right? The one everyone talks about. Sex, death, and taxes.
It gets a bad rap, but it's really the house of transformation and shared resources. It's where we merge with others. So the eclipse on Tuesday says, look at this person.
Right.
Then the sun in Pisces on Wednesday says, now merge with them. Trust them, share your secrets, share your bank accounts with them. It becomes less about the party and more about the soul connection.
That is a profound arc for just 3 days. A rebellion, a partnership revolution, and then a call for deep intimacy.
It's a huge week.
Let's get into the weeds. I want to break this down day by day in our chronological analysis. Let's go back to Monday, February 16th. You mentioned the jolt.
Monday is fascinating because it's a day of complete paradox. We have that Sun square Uranus aspect we just discussed, the urge to rebel, the shock, the disruption.
Give me a specific scenario. What does that look like at 9:00 a.m.
Uh-huh.
on a Monday for a Leo?
Okay, scenario. A Leo walks into work. They're expecting a normal, boring status meeting. Suddenly, the CEO announces a massive restructuring, the department is being dissolved, or their boss is fired, or the software they've used for 10 years is being replaced by AI tomorrow.
Wow, okay.
It's a shock to the system. Or maybe it's internal. The Leo realizes, I cannot wear this mask for one more day, and they send a resignation email completely on impulse.
That sounds absolutely terrifying. But looking at the notes, you also called Monday a boost. How could it be a disaster and a boost at the exact same time?
That is the astrological weather. At the same time, I mean, down to the degree, we have Mercury forming a beautiful trine with Jupiter.
Okay, so Mercury is communication, thought, commerce. And Jupiter is luck, expansion, the big win. And a trine is a harmonious flow.
Yes, a trine is the path of least resistance. It's a gift from the universe. So Mercury, the messenger, is basically holding hands with Jupiter, the Santa Claus of the zodiac. This suggests good news, big ideas, and financial flow.
So using our scenario from before, the CEO announces the department is dissolving, which is the sun you in a shock. But then 10 minutes later, you get an email offering you a generous severance package or a new position in a better department with higher pay. That's the Mercury-Jupiter.
Exactly. Or you rage quit your job, that's the Sun Uranus, and an hour later, an old friend calls you out of the blue with a brilliant startup idea that just got funding, and they want you on board. That's Mercury-Jupiter. The chaos and the luck are completely intertwined.
That feels incredibly confusing to navigate emotionally. You'd be ricocheting between sheer panic and euphoria.
It creates a lot of adrenaline. The conflict is very real. The expert advice here is to try and separate the income luck from the impulsive risk.
Okay, how do you do that at the moment?
Well, because Sun Uranus makes you feel electrical and impulsive, you might get that good news about money and immediately want to go spend it on something wild, a new car, a fancy watch.
A celebratory purchase.
Right. Or you might want to throw it all into crypto because you suddenly feel invincible. The advice is, adaptability is key regarding the changes, except that a department is closing, but do not make risky investments or big sudden purchases. Ride the wave of news, but keep your hands in your pockets for a day or two.
So observe the chaos, accept the luck, but don't sign the check. At least not on Monday.
Not on Monday. Just wait for the dust to settle.
Which brings us to Tuesday, February 17th, the solar eclipse. We know it's about relationships, but let's go deeper into this concept of contracts that you mentioned in the outline.
Right. Since Aquarius rules that seventh house sector of others for Leo, an eclipse here is a legal and binding cosmic event. It's not just about feelings, it's about the terms of engagement in all of your one-on-one relationship.
Are we talking actual legal contracts here? Like, should I be reviewing my prenup?
We certainly can be. Business partnerships, marriage licenses, rental leases, those things could definitely come up for review. But more often, it's about the social contract, the unwritten rules.
What do you mean by that?
You know, the unspoken agreements. I cook, you clean, I earn the money, you manage the home. Or for Leo, a very common one is, I am the star, you are the stage manager.
And the eclipse just tears that contract up.
It audits it. The eclipse energy comes in and says, this contract is expired, it's no longer fair. If a Leo has been doing all the giving, the eclipse might end that dynamic abruptly. If they've been taking up too much space, which Leos can sometimes do without even realizing it, the partner might push back and push back hard.
So if you are a Leo, this is a dangerous day to be arrogant.
It is a terrible day to be arrogant. It's a day to listen. The actionable advice is to proactively review your agreements. Ensure fairness. If you try to power trip someone on Tuesday, the eclipse will likely humble you.
But what if you're open to change?
If you come to the table willing to renegotiate, you can build something much stronger.
Okay. Moving on to Wednesday, February 18th. The sun enters Pisces, but we also have another very specific aspect happening. Venus joins the North Node. Now, North Node is one of those terms astrologers love to use, but what does it actually mean for the listener?
Think of the North Node as the dragon's head. In Vedic astrology, it's called Rahu. It represents this insatiable hunger, but also destiny. It is the direction your soul is trying to go in this lifetime in order to grow. It's unfamiliar territory that just pulls you in.
And Venus is love, values, money, beauty.
Right. So in Venus, the planet of connection, sits right on top of the North Node. It's a destiny point involving love or values. It's like a signpost lighting up a neon on a dark, foggy highway.
So destiny meets love.
Precisely. The implication is that connections made now are fated. This is not a random meeting at a coffee shop. If you meet someone on Wednesday or have a significant breakthrough conversation with an existing partner, you need to pay attention. This is karmic. It plays a massive role in the future timeline of your life.
And this is all happening against that backdrop of the sun entering Pisces.
Yes. So the atmosphere is thick. The sun in Pisces removes the boundaries. Feelings become intense and very private. Leos usually love the public adoration, right? They thrive on it.
Absolutely.
But on Wednesday, that craving for applause is completely replaced by a craving for deep, almost psychic intimacy. They don't want a fan anymore. They want a soulmate.
It's a day for the deep dive, not the shallow end of the pool.
Beautifully put. Yeah.
That brings us to Friday, February 20th. We have Saturn conjunct Neptune. Now, this one's interesting. I know Saturn is the taskmaster, the wall, the rules, and Neptune is the fog, the dream, the ocean. That feels like two very, very different energies colliding.
It is one of the most difficult and profound combinations in all of astrology. Saturn is reality, Neptune is fantasy. When they conjunct, meaning they occupy the exact same space in the sky, it forces a reality check on your dreams.
Reality check usually implies a disappointment, like waking up from a really good dream and realizing you have to go to work.
It can be a disappointment, yes, if the dream was purely an illusion with no foundation. Saturn will dissolve what is not real. But, and this is the key, if the dream has substance, if it has potential, Saturn is the engineer who comes in to build the foundation under the castle in the clouds.
So it's manifestation engineering. I like that.
I love that phrase, yes. For Leo, this is all happening in that 8th house of shared resources and deep bonding. This marks a moment of clarity regarding long-term commitments.
So what does that look like?
It's the moment you stop just talking about buying the house with your partner and you actually sit down with the mortgage broker and look at the credit scores and the interest rates.
It's the unsexy part of the dream.
It is the necessary part of the dream. It's about seeing the practical, tangible steps needed to make a big vision come true. It grounds the fantasy. If a Leo has been deluding themselves about a financial situation or a relationship dynamic, Friday is the day the lights turn on. It might feel harsh, but it's incredibly clarifying.
I think we all need that sometimes, even if we dread it.
We do.
Now let's skip ahead to Sunday, February 22nd. You called this the grand finale in the notes, and looks like a welcome relief.
It truly is. After the shock of Uranus, the intensity of the eclipse, and the heavy reality check of Saturn, the sky just opens up. We have a gorgeous trine between Venus and Jupiter.
The two lucky planets, the two benefics.
The lesser benefic, Venus, and the greater benefic, Jupiter. When they trine, it's just cosmic harmony. It's abundance. It brings a feeling of immense luck and expansion to daily life and to the heart.
Is this just a mood, or does it bring tangible results? Can you feel it in your pocket?
Both. It absolutely suggests financial blessings. Maybe that money from Monday's good news finally clears in your account. Or helpful gifts. Someone might give you something you really need. But mostly, it's a profound sense of well-being. It is the feeling that everything is going to be okay. A deep exhale.
And there's also Mars and Chiron active on this day as well.
Yes, playing a very important supporting role. Mars is action and drive. Chiron is the wounded healer, the asteroid that represents our deepest insecurities and wounds. When Mars touches Chiron harmoniously, it gives us the courage to take action on our wounds in order to heal them.
So like ripping the Band-Aid off, but knowing it will heal better and faster.
Exactly. Specifically for Leo, this aspect is about fixing misunderstandings with colleagues or in their daily routine. It's about finding the voice to say, I was hurt by what happened earlier in the week, but I want to move forward. It clears the air so the environment becomes positive again.
So Sunday is just a win all around, healing the past and expanding into a much brighter future.
It is the perfect resolution to the narrative arc of this whole week. It's the reward.
Okay, I want to pivot now to our sector breakdown. We've touched on the days, but let's look at specific areas of life. Let's start with the big one for Leo, the one that seems to be screaming from the chart. Love and romance.
As the forecast says, love is the main event. You just cannot have a solar eclipse in your 7th house of marriage and partnership and not have it be about love. It's front and center.
Let's speak to the Akash Leos first. If you are already in a long-term relationship, do you need to be worried about this eclipse? Eclipses can be breakups, right? They have that reputation.
They can be, yes. If the relationship is stagnant or based on a false premise, the eclipse will expose that. There's no hiding. It brings a sudden shift in how you relate to a partner. It breaks patterns. If you've been stuck in a rut, the eclipse definitely may you out of it.
But what if the relationship is good? What if it's solid?
Then it evolves. You level up, the partnership deepens. And look at February 22nd, That Venus-Jupiter trine is one of the best days of the entire year to celebrate love. So if you survive the Tuesday eclipse together, Sunday's the day to renew your vows, plan a massive trip, or just throw a party to celebrate your partner and your connection.
That sounds amazing. What about the single Leos out there? Let's talk about the fated aspect you mentioned earlier.
This is where it gets really exciting. The solar eclipse in Aquarius is a powerful time to meet someone who, and I want to stress this, challenges and inspires you.
Why challenges? Why not just someone who adores them? Leos love adoration.
Because Aquarius is the opposite sign. The universe is sending someone who represents the missing piece of the puzzle. This might not be the person who brings you flowers and tells you you're pretty every 5 minutes. This is the person who debates you on politics, who introduces you to weird sci-fi movies, who shocks you a little bit with their ideas. They stimulate your mind before they capture your heart.
That sounds like a really different flavor for many Leos.
It is, it's growth. And with Venus hitting the North Node on the 18th, meeting someone now isn't casual. It has future implications. If you swipe right on Wealth Day, or if you bump into someone at a protest or a lecture or some kind of group event, that person represents a new direction for your soul.
Wow. And Sunday the 22nd for singles. How does that play out?
That is high romance. A day to find someone who makes your heart skip a beat. If Tuesday is the intellectual connection and Wednesday is the fated meeting, Sunday's the day you get the butterflies in your stomach.
I love it. Okay, let's move to career and money. We talked about the Monday surprise, that Sun-Uranus jolt.
Yes, the Sun-Uranus square. We have to reiterate this. Unexpected news about a job or a change in leadership is very likely. The key here for Leos is not to panic. Uranus surprises can be disruptive, but they liberate you from things that were stagnant. If you lose a client on Monday, it is probably because that client was holding you back from a bigger opportunity.
So trust the chaos.
A little bit, yes. Trust that it's clearing the path.
And the strategy for the rest of the week at work.
Friday, February 20th, that Saturn-Neptune energy, that is your day for deep, focused research. If you have a long-term project or if you're trying to secure funding, which is an 8th house shared resources thing, that is the day to put your head down. Don't pitch the idea, build the spreadsheet that proves the idea works.
Get your ducks in a row.
Exactly. And the resolution for the week?
Sunday, February 22nd. Clearing the air with colleagues. If there was drama caused by the Monday surprise, maybe you snapped at a coworker in a moment of stress. Sunday's the day to smooth it over. The energy is forgiving and healing. Let's talk about the money specifically. You gave a pretty strong warning earlier about Monday.
The warning is for February 16th. Do not make sudden, big, emotional purchases. The energy is too erratic. You might buy a car because you're angry at your boss, or invest in a risky stock because you heard a rumor. Just wait.
But there is opportunity there as well.
Huge opportunity. That Mercury-Jupiter trine on the 16th brings income boosts, but it's through partners. This is key. The money comes through others. Your partner gets a raise, a joint investment pays off, or a collaborator brings in a lucrative deal. It's not necessarily a solo win.
And I see a note here about clarity on the 18th regarding finances.
Yes. When the sun enters Pisces, it lights up that 8th house. It brings a new awareness of long-term security. It becomes less about cash in hand for groceries and more about wealth building, insurance, inheritance, and legacy. It shifts the focus from the immediate to the future.
Very important stuff. Moving on to health and wellness. Leo rules the heart and the spine, anatomically. What's the overall health theme for this very intense week?
The theme is finding balance between public life and private needs. Leos are going to be pulled in both directions, and it can take a physical toll. The eclipse in Aquarius affects the nervous system. It's electrical high-frequency energy. It can manifest as anxiety.
So burnout is a real risk.
It's a very high risk. Leos will feel much more sensitive to the energy around them. If everyone in the office is anxious about the restructuring, the Leo will absorb that like a sponge.
So what's the advice?
The advice is simple but very hard to follow for a Leo. Take time to breathe and relax. Do not overschedule yourself on Tuesday. You need to discharge that static electricity. Go for a walk, take a bath, turn off your phone.
And for recharging later in the week.
Wednesday the 18th, once the sun is in Pisces. Pisces rules the feet and the lymphatic system. It's all about flow. Benefit from quiet activities, swimming, meditation, getting extra sleep. And then Friday, with Saturn and Neptune, the forecast really emphasizes creating a regular routine of rest and self-care.
It sounds like sleep is really important this week.
It is vital. If you don't get enough sleep, that Saturn-Neptune fog will just make you feel confused and overwhelmed. But then look at Sunday. Mars and Chiron give a huge boost of physical energy. So while the middle of the week is for rest, Sunday is a great day for a workout or a long walk to feel strong and vibrant again.
I love that. Rest hard so you can play hard.
That's exactly the formula for this week.
All right, let's open up the toolkit. This is where we get into the specifics, the fun stuff. Colors, numbers, matches. I always find the color theory fascinating.
It's all about vibrational alignment. It's more than just aesthetics.
The color of the week is gold. Color code #FFD700.
Of course it is. I mean, could it be anything else for Leo?
So on the nose.
It really is. Leo is ruled by the sun. Gold is the metal of the sun. But more than that, gold represents alchemical perfection. It doesn't rust. It doesn't tarnish. In a week where the Leo is being tested by the eclipse, where their identity is in flux, wearing gold is a way of reminding themselves of their own immutable value. It protects the aura.
I love that. And the lucky numbers. We have 1, 10, 19, 28, 37, 46.
Do you see the pattern there?
Let me see. 1 pen 10 is 1 plus 0. 19 is 1 plus 9 is 10, which is 1. They all add up to 1.
They all reduce down to 1. These are all solar numbers. The number 1 is the monad, the self, the origin. Even though the week is all about we because of Aquarius, the lucky numbers are there to remind the Leo that everything starts with a strong sense of I. You cannot have a healthy partnership if you lose yourself in it.
Great point. Best dates for action.
February 16th, despite the chaos, that Mercury luck is potent if you are quick and smart about it. February 17th, the eclipse is the day to pivot, to make the change. And February 22nd, that's the day to harvest the rewards and celebrate.
Now for the fun part. Let's talk relationship compatibility. This is always the most controversial section. Who is the best match for Leo this week?
Sagittarius.
The Archer. Another fire sign. That makes sense.
Yes. And the reasoning is very specific to the transits of this week. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. They are naturally optimistic, philosophical, and they always look at the big picture.
Right.
So when a Leo is down in the trenches dealing with the stress of the eclipse and the identity crisis, the Sagittarius is the one standing on the hill saying, "Don't worry, my love, this is just a chapter in a great adventure."
They bring the levity. They bring the perspective.
They bring hope, they share that fiery spirit and a love for truth, and specifically for that glorious Sunday energy. February 22nd, Sagittarius is the perfect partner for planning that trip or that new project. They will always say yes to a Leo's big ideas.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, and who is the worst match? Who should Leos avoid or just handle with extreme care this week?
Scorpio.
Ooh, the Scorpion. That can be a tough pairing anyway. Fixed fire and fixed water. A lot of steam.
It is the fixed quality that is the real problem this week. Both signs are stubborn. They dig their heels in. But right now, Scorpio is feeling very private, very intense, and maybe even a little paranoid, while Leo is dealing with this very public sector crisis. It's a fundamental clash of focus.
And the planetary aspects don't help, I'm guessing.
Not at all. That Sun square Uranus on Monday creates immediate power struggles. If a Leo comes home stressed out and starts barking orders, the Scorpio will not back down. They will dig in even harder.
So what's the dynamic?
The Scorpio may seem secretive or controlling to the Leo, and the Leo may seem overly dramatic or too focused on outside opinions to the Scorpio.
So if a Leo is dating or married to a Scorpio, what is the survival guide for this week?
The conflict is real. The communication will feel heavy. The advice is simple. Give each other space, massive amounts of space. Do not try to force a big emotional resolution on Monday or Friday. Avoid the argument by taking a step back and just saying, "I love you, but I really need to be in the other room for a few hours."
Great advice. Sometimes distance makes the heart grow fonder, or at least, keeps the peace.
It's just about respecting that you are in completely different headspaces this week. It's not personal, it's cosmic.
So we have covered the cosmic landscape, the daily play-by-play, the sectors, and the toolkit. This has been quite a journey through this week's chart.
It really has. It is one of the most dynamic and transformative weeks of 2026 for any sign, but especially for Leo.
Let's try to analyze the whole picture now.
Yeah.
If you had to sum up the narrative arc for our Leo listeners, how would you describe the journey from that chaotic Monday to that beautiful Sunday?
It's a hero's journey in miniature. It really is. You start with the call to adventure, that unpredictable shock on Monday. You face the abyss, the eclipse on Tuesday, where you have to let go of the old ego, the old way of being. You enter the cave. That's the deep emotional introspection of Wednesday and Friday when the sun is in Pisces. And finally, you return with the elixir, the luck, the love, and the clarity of Sunday.
That is beautiful. It frames it perfectly.
The key is to trust the process. Navigate the surprise on Monday, stay adaptable, don't resist. Embrace the relationship shift on Tuesday. Let the eclipse do its work on you. Find that deep clarity midweek. And finally, you get to enjoy the luck. You've earned it.
It sounds like a week of incredibly rapid evolution. You will not be the same person on Sunday that you were on Monday.
You shouldn't be. That's the whole point of an eclipse. It fast-forwards your growth.
I have one final question for you. You mentioned that Saturn-Neptune aspect on Friday,
What?
the reality check on dreams. We talk about how hard that can be, how it can feel like a letdown.
Yes, it can be a tough one.
I want to leave our listeners with something to chew on regarding that specific energy.
Okay. I think the provocative question here is this. We all ask for our dreams to come true. We visualize, we manifest, we pray. But Saturn asks the hard question.
Which is?
If the structure of your life changed this week to match your wildest dreams, if you got the job, the partner, the fame you've always wanted, would you be ready to do the practical, boring, daily work to keep it?
Ooh, that hits home. Because we so often ask for the wedding, but we completely forget about the marriage.
Exactly. The eclipse might hand you the dream on a silver platter. Saturn asks if you have the discipline and the maturity to maintain it.
That is a powerful note to end on. Leos, take that into your week. Navigate the changes, check your contracts, open your heart, and get ready for that gold rush on Sunday.
And wear your gold. It'll help.
Definitely wear the gold. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode on Horoscope TV. We hope this analysis helps you navigate the solar eclipse awakening with confidence and courage.
It was a pleasure exploring the stars with you.
Please subscribe so you can get notified when the next episode is available. We will see you next time on Horoscope TV.
Goodbye, everyone.